Your father only does that because he was worried about your future.
Yeah, it's very hard to picture.
Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
All right, everybody. Welcome to One Fucking Hour, the show where we talk about one movie for one fucking hour. I am Evan Husney, of course, and we are joined by a couple of folks here. First off, we got Tom Fitzgerald. Tom.
Life on the left side. What's up?
Welcome back. Welcome back. And I'll always here, straight to my right, we got Mr. Marcus Herring. Marcus, what's going on, man?
Aloha.
Oh, that works.
That means
very
hello
nice.
and
like
goodbye.
What does it mean?
I just think of the Cameron Crowe movie.
It's like shalom. It means hello, and does shalom mean goodbye? I don't know. Maybe it doesn't.
I don't know.
Not sure about that.
Unqualified.
We'll have to figure that out. But we also have returning this week. She was back on from our bad timing episode. Welcome back to the show, Miss Ramey Bennett. How you doing, Ramey? Welcome.
I'm doing good. Back for another sick movie.
Yeah, when the sick films definitely require
Right.
you. Yeah, you're on the sick film hotline for us, so for sure.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. So the day this episode airs, September 12th, that is my birthday, everybody. So you are listening to this on my birthday.
That's awesome.
Happy
Wow, you
birthday.
dodged a bullet by one day for your birthday. Where it landed.
I did.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Like literally. Yeah.
I did.
Nice
I
one.
did. So
Well, happy
here we
birthday,
go.
nonetheless.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that
Yeah.
because we are here, episode 39. I'm picking. Hey, we have the rules here on One Fucking Hour. What are they, Tom?
You get to pick whatever damn movie you want. And we started a tradition. And this one caps for the three of us. I did Cracking Up earlier in the year. And Marcus did Space
Wars.
Wars? Star Wars. Right, Star Wars. Never remember that movie. Yeah. He did Space Wars. And now this is the third and final of the year. And we're going to continue this, I suppose. But yeah, the rule is there are no rules.
Exactly.
Like Marcus and I could despise this film. You guys could despise my movie coming up. So it's fun.
Yeah, exactly. So for this week, I picked a personal favorite. This movie, for episode 39, we're looking at the Canadian horror film Pin, a plastic nightmare from 1988.
Another movie with a colon subtitle.
Yes, exactly.
Like Bad Timing, a plastic nightmare.
Exactly.
Or Pin, a sensual obsession.
That works,
it
actually.
works. It works.
That actually fits very, very
does.
well. So, yes, here we are. We're talking about Pin. All right, everybody. So, get ready. If you have not
ready.
seen this movie, I still think this episode's going to work for you. It's a hard movie to see. It's not available anywhere. But maybe if you want to follow us at One Fucking Hour on Instagram or at numeral One Fucking Hour on Twitter, DM us. Maybe we'll have something for you on the side there.
Hook you up.
We'll hook you up. So, all right. Enough of that nonsense. I'm going to start this clock, and we're going to get into this. This should be
No,
interesting. This should be really interesting.
Yeah.
So
Let the games begin.
Oh, yeah.
here we go. All right, everybody. Little backstory on the movie, this because you're definitely going to need this synopsis. All right. Pin is the 1988 very Canadian horror film based on a novel by the incest-obsessed novelist Andrew Niderman.
Wait,
Which
can you
sent-
slow down? Wait, sorry. What are you saying?
Incest
Canadian, Tom.
obsessed.
No, you're saying the writer of this film is obsessed.
Book.
Yes, the novelist.
What
This
Excuse
film.
me? Okay.
This film is based on a book that we're going to get into tonight. That if you thought Pin was fucked up, wait till you hear about the source material. So it is based on a novel by Mr. Andrew Niderman, which centers on, get this, an absolutely fucking terrifying translucent medical dummy named Pin, which you find out is short for Pinocchio. And it's at the
Yeah, there you go.
yes, there you go. It's
Yeah,
at the and which is at the core of a fracturing dysfunctional family unit. And in what I am calling one of the wrongest movies ever made, this bone-chilling dummy is also the catalytic force in deadly power games of sexual repression and paranoid schizophrenic episodes. So
Really rolls off the tongue there.
It'd be fun. Can I ask? I mean, maybe
Sure
I'm
does.
getting ahead of ourselves, but or maybe Remy has this, but I'm already hooked. Like, no. Well, I'm saying like the novel, was it sort of a V.C. Andrews kind of like?
Exactly.
It was kind of a pulpy fiction, like
Exactly.
a young adult fiction kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm going to get into that a little bit more later.
Yeah, we'll talk later. It's cool. 'Cause I'm not really getting this at all. Like
we will.
Yeah.
No, yeah, we
There's a-
will. We're
there's
gonna.
there's a big backstory.
There's a
with
big chunky
V.C.
backstory.
Andrews hybrid.
There is. He actually became the ghostwriter for V.C. Andrews, but we'll get into that.
Okay.
Oh, well, there you go.
Ah,
There you go.
jeez,
Our
come on.
Okay, just on
Fantastic.
NPR.
Little teaser for later, everybody, if you're a fan.
He was on
okay,
MSNBC last week.
it's insane.
Yeah, I think it was just revealed like who the ghostwriter was, right?
That's
They
right.
just
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
shoot.
big pin
We
reveal.
got-
So,
We'll get into it.
We'll
we
get
got
into
it. Let me just at the top. I feel like I have to explain myself for anybody who's watching this. Is like, why the fuck is this my birthday pick out of all the movies that you could possibly pick? Just real quick. We know when I saw this movie, I was on a tear of watching a lot of Canadian movies, okay? A lot of Canadian films from the 70s and 80s. I was really fascinated with. We talked about this in our episode on The Brood, on the 1 fucking hour on Cronenberg's The Brood. We talked about the Canadian tax shelter and how that's just a really fascinating time in filmmaking where you sort of
So
had
great.
this 100% tax write-offs for it doesn't matter what it is, type of movies made for no one, sometimes movies that would be permanently put on the shelf. It was just this time period in world cinema where the weirdest shit could get made, and there might not even
Yeah.
be an audience for it, right?
Well, like we say, just real succinctly, like it's the only films ever made that didn't have the marketplace in mind.
Right. Right.
So you're going to get some really sideways films here because the genesis is not, backers who want to get their money, like, the investments, like quadrupled. It's
Find
like,
an audience or whatever. Yeah, it's
exactly.
not about
It's
that
just
at
like,
all.
It just
Yeah.
kind of happens. as
Right.
a movie.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. So I was really fascinated by that because here you have this whole world of English language movies that are just, across the border into Canada, and it just seems like this kind of bizarre alternate universe. And there is kind of a weird,
Right.
just, I don't know, bizarre quality a lot of these Canadian films have. We've talked about it before. And so this movie, when I saw it, my jaw hit the fucking floor because as we'll get into with this movie, it is very perverse, it's very wrong, and it has this kind of insane escalation. Like it kind of starts pretty innocently. Like the beginning of the movie, you might even think you're watching some sort of like Nickelodeon kind of made for kids horror, like very Goosebumpsian, if you will, type of horror
Goonies.
movie. Goonies, Boonies, and then as you get from scene to scene to scene, this movie just starts ramping up the insanity and the perverse concepts here, and that to me just made it. It actually for me made it an incredible movie to bust out on a movie night. You have friends over, you want to pull it
Yeah.
off the top shelf weirdness. I got something you've never fucking heard of, you've never seen, and it
Right.
plays
Watched
really
it
well.
One of the first times we hung out.
That's right. Oh, we're gonna
There you
get into
go.
that too. But yeah, it just is one of these movies where I wouldn't show it to anybody you necessarily want to impress, like a date or something. But I would recommend it in terms of it depends. You're right. It depends. It's pretty fucked up. But I think just having friends together, wanting to discover something really truly insane, and I can say this, and you can't say this for a lot of movies where you have no idea where this fucking movie is going scene to scene, and that just was what makes it super, super fun to watch. So it's always been part of my movie night arsenal, and it's kind of just been part of that, something I've always loved to bust out from time to time. But I think, and then Raimi, I mean, you got to sort of talk about your origin story with this, because your origin story with this is also our friendship is sort of rooted in this movie as well too.
Yeah. So like we were talking about Flowers in the Attic, I grew up loving those movies, loving that just bizarre, super taboo, transgressive, but this kind of like, I don't know if you guys will get this reference, but like Laura Ashley, what I call like Laura Ashley horror. So Laura Ashley was a designer in the 80s who did all that like sort of Martha Stewart kind of puffy sleeve prairie dress.
I know exactly
wearing,
what you're talking about.
And you have the bedspread.
A lot of the Facts of Life girls rock that.
Yeah. And it's
you know,
the floral bedding.
like Blair from the Facts of Life.
Yeah, and you have the high collar, and they're wearing like sort of a sun hat. It's kind of Victorian, so it's almost like this waspy, yuppie, extreme kind of aesthetic that developed at that time. And this is sort of like the ultimate subversion of that beautiful, pretty, overly kind of like sickeningly sweet flowered wallpaper with the flowered, bedspread and stuff. So I just because as a kid, that aesthetic sort of fascinated me. And then this is like, the dark side of that. So that's sort of like where my love of that, and as a kid also being into the weird sexual stuff,
Wait, you guys saw it independently?
Of course.
No, but I'm just trying to plot this out. Like you both individually saw this.
Yeah, separately.
But we're also jazzed about it. Like you're both like, man, and
so
you're
before I
that's
met
awesome.
him, I was with a friend. We were in Joshua Tree together, and she was like, "Oh, I have a thumb drive. This friend of mine, this guy, put these movies on this thumb drive for me, so we could watch them, or I could watch them on vacation."
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Oh my God, what movies? Let me check it out." And I was like, "Pin? Who is this? Who is this?" I was like,
and not because you were curious, but you were like, "Oh, Pin, I'm about Pin."
Yeah,
like,
because I was so into that movie, and I was like, I need to meet this guy.
I love that.
Who the fuck is this guy? And then I met him, and we became friends and all that.
Wow.
So Pin,
you
we have
didn't meet
Pin
in
to
a
thank.
Facebook chat
No,
room,
not in the chat room.
like a
Not in the-
Pin chat
I
room.
wish.
A Pin Reddit
So you're
thread.
saying it was
AOL.
the guy who put it on the hard drive was Evan?
Was
that's
Evan.
what you're saying.
Yes.
And Pin is what
Oh.
brought us together. So
So
yeah.
Oh, it
Evan's
was Evan.
responsible for seeding this movie around. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I was.
It's well, not in Remy's case.
No, I had
What?
seen it before, but I was so
okay.
like impressed.
That's what I'm saying.
I was
yeah.
like impressed that this person was into Pin. So I was like, I gotta talk. We gotta talk.
But
Like, let's
but
talk
it's-
Pin, yo.
Pin. Yeah.
Yeah, but
get
it
it.
was
That's
also
great.
that
That's awesome.
her friend. I was trying to show her Pin. So I am still. We're kind of both right. I was kind of the pin dealer on one end. And
Johnny
then
Apple Pin.
Johnny Apple Pin, right? I'm a total pinhead, so it's like
Total Pin.
Heyo.
So anyway, I just so I think we should definitely get into just a little bit about what this movie is actually about, or the setup for the movie. But I'm so curious. I know it's my birthday movie. Please don't hold back, guys.
Birthday movie.
Let's start with Marcus. Marcus, what's your reaction to seeing Pin?
Why do you have to start with me?
Marcus, go.
I think it's gonna be like one of those things where I've seen it. I saw it before a few years ago, and I was kind of like, eh. And then I found out you are such a big fan of it. So when I was watching it this time, I was trying to watch it with fresh eyes. And I feel like by the end of this podcast, looking at how long Ramey's notes were and for your enthusiasm for it, I have a feeling that by the end of this podcast, I'm going to be a bigger fan of Pin than I was when we started it. And then that's how it was for all the marbles too, if you remember, with Lars.
That's true.
So
Not for me.
I think we might expand on it, but
Flatline. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of like tropes. It feels like a Frankenstein of tropes in a way,
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like. I think it's a pretty good. It's a chill horror movie compared to like some of this year in '88 horror movies, I think. But it's got. It just feels like so many tropes kind of jam packed together that was kind of off putting to me initially. It was just like, another trope, like the ventriloquist dummy, the Norman Bates type guy, like there's just all these kind of things. The parents that are too harsh, like there's just a lot of like. I don't want to say trite, but there's just a lot of just those things kind of just mashed together, and that does impact my
I don't think
my initial reading of it.
I don't think like, you know, it wouldn't be my intention to be like, hey, let's watch Pin and take it as like a serious or as a good movie.
Right.
You know, because I'm never gonna say it's a good movie. This is a ultimate
Yes.
curio. You know, this is
Totally.
an odd duck that exists on a, you know,
Yeah.
this is a weird Canadian slice of
mean,
bizarreness
Yeah.
here.
We
I'm
did
glad
that
we're getting
timing
out
last
of the
week.
way.
You know.
Oh, come on. Yeah. No way. I mean, I like this because it's insane and wrong and
insane.
perverse and what the fuck. You know,
Yeah.
it's a movie
Yeah, I
night
agree.
movie. It's not like we're not talking about you know, like a straight time here or anything.
Yeah,
But-
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, yeah. So so now we're all in the safe zone with that. And this is a perfect segue to just, you know, a little bit about what the setup to the movie is, because like I said, the movie opens with this very sort of like, you know, yeah, you feel like you're sitting in to watch some sort of like, you know, kids horror movie with these kids looking up and seeing if they're going to crawl up at the top of this house, and then they get scared and they see, you know, Pin,
Almost like
and they hear-
Stand By Me kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah. It's something that just seems totally innocuous. But then the movie starts to get a little weird because we're introduced to this father figure played by Terry O'Quinn, who, you know, is a good actor, and, you know, he's awesome in The Stepfather and fucking
Totally.
Terry O'Quinn, right?
Oh, Guild, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And so we're
Born
introduced to
stepfather.
totally,
I know.
yeah. And so we're introduced to him as this, you know, pediatrician, but he also has this gimmick with the kids, his kid patients, that he's a ventriloquist. So he uses this medical dummy Pin as a way to sort of show the kids, like, you know, here's where your liver is and here's where your spleen is, you know.
Anyway, we shouldn't be having this conversation. You know, the doctor doesn't like me talking to anyone when he's not here.
We won't tell him.
You go out to the waiting room now.
And so that's, you know, weird and awkward. But then it introduces the character of Leon, this little kid who you see age progress throughout this entire film. The second Leon's my favorite, by the way.
I know the doctor doesn't like me talking to you when he's not here. But couldn't I do it just this once? I don't have any other friends to talk to except you.
This movie takes a hard turn, okay, at like the 15-minute mark, I think I want to say. And I have the scene queued up here if we can just take a look at this. 'cause
Oh,
this,
we're playing scenes again.
we're back to scenes. This is that moment where you realize, okay, this movie is maybe not for children at all. And that's the scene here when
Maybe too late, even.
yeah, maybe too late. But here's a scene where Leon, the son of the ventriloquist pediatrician, comes in to try and speak to Pin when his father's not around, but he notices and catches one of his father's colleagues lurking about. And first off, man, the design of Pin is pretty freaky. I mean,
Yeah,
you gotta
it's
give me that.
classic. It's one of the great like figures of horror, you know.
And then obviously we realize
good.
that Pin.
Yep.
Cover your eyes.
His reaction's great. It's not curiosity. It's just more like abject horror.
Pure terror.
No.
That's how. That's my reaction. It's his.
So you know he has a twisted introduction to sexuality.
Yes,
The
there
look
you go.
of Pin is so disconcerting. I'm sorry, like that's the part. That's the first thing that the first issue I have is he's so hard to look at. He's scary looking.
He's very scary.
And to think that he's sitting in this doctor's office, everyone else is kind of creeped out by him, right? Like the sister and then the mom. Everyone else who meets Pin, the little boy is of course infatuated with him. The dad likes him. The nurse obviously likes him. But it's like, it's just so weird to think. I have a hard time getting past that thing is sitting in a doctor's office, like in a normal.
Yeah, with like
Yeah.
usable joints.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, totally.
I guess like, if I know you didn't ask, but I'll tell you what my thoughts are.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
About
sorry.
the film are no, sorry. It's just this has a strange place for me, and it's a slightly interesting one to me, at least. Now, okay, so it's like 1989 or 1990, and I'm getting stupid into like really messed up movies. like me and my friend are starting to take this seriously and ordering movies from gray market guys in the back of Psychotronic Video.
Yes.
Like BJ Link Presents and like, This Is America. So immediately we had a very hardcore taste. And so my point is, Penn got started talking about as an exception to modern films that you could place Penn in a class with classic 70s garbage, like if you know that movie The Psychopath with Mr. Rabby.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Right. And on and on. The Love Butcher was a big hit for me, if you know that, 1975. So I remember, I would go to video stores and I would dub the movies and return them. So that's how I had my cheap way of building a collection at the time, because I was broke. But I'll tell you, there's a tape I probably still have in storage that says Penn and like something else on it. So what I'm saying is, Penn, because of its good word of mouth amongst all us weirdos, was like, it elevated itself to like, hear me out, it's 1988, but it's of value. It fits right next to, all these fucked up movies you're watching.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so I didn't even see it, but I was just like, respect, and I grabbed it, and I saw it once then, and I was like, yeah, it's pretty good shit. And there's a few others, and I just, Sonny Boy is another one, not to get sidetracked.
Totally.
Okay, if you're familiar, yeah.
David Carradine. David
right,
Carradine.
Yeah. All I'm saying is we were big snobs, and we were living hard in like 1973. And so this movie transcended that. And I liked it, but I never watched it again. And side note is when I was a little kid, I wanted Earthquake Tower, which was this cool toy. For Christmas, I wanted this thing where you press a button and you play a 45 record. And it's people screaming. It's on YouTube and go like, "Oh my god!" And like you press the button and it shakes things off the tower. Cool. And my mom did not get that for me.
Oh,
and I was
bummer.
upset. But guess what? She did get me was
the Visible Man.
Hold on. She got me the Visible Woman.
I love
it. Which is even weirder. And because she was like, "I want you to learn," and I was like, "God damn it!" But a part of me knew like, oh, I know what she's doing, and I'm like, this is actually kind of dope and weird looking, and so I got very fascinated. It was small. It wasn't.
I had her too. I loved her.
Invisible Woman, motherfucker.
Yeah, my dad got me the Invisible Woman.
Well, there you go. Yeah. So I
had Visible Man. Yeah, and I did play with it a lot. Yeah.
Holy shit! I didn't know that.
That is interesting though, because it is like that. The clear
you guys all had pins
and the anatomical
thing. Pins.
And you're
Did yours
learning.
talk? Did yours talk? Right? Yours
a little bit, yeah. Told me to kill my neighbor. It was weird. Anyway, so there's that. But my impression of the film, because I watched it just last night, and I don't remember seeing it the first time, because I was too busy watching the pig fucking movie from 1975. But I watched it last night, and sorry about the F word. But I liked it. It's just I was vacillating between, and I think the film is vacillating between two things. Really innovative and pretty special. It's got some big Canada sauce dripped all over it.
Oh, yeah.
It vacillates from that to sort of like, here's my card, here's my demo for Hollywood.
Yeah.
It feels a little cynical, which I don't even know if that's a bad thing, but it felt like a little bit like here you go, producers, like I can make real movies, even up here in Canada. So it just felt a little mechanical in that sense.
They all kind of have that
sometimes. Yeah. I don't even know if I mind that or anything, but there was some formulaic stuff to it. And my main thing was I just watched Magic, like very recently.
Oh, I love Magic.
Anthony Hopkins' 1978 film.
Yeah.
And one of the best.
And I almost knew, because the twist, I like Magic a lot, but it's one of the dumbest twist endings ever. Spoiler alert, hardcore, I'm sorry, this is my point, is I was waiting for this film, Pin, to end like Magic, with kind of a very groanable, like shock twist ending, because Magic ends where like his girlfriend, he's dead, Anthony Hopkins, the ventriloquist, and like it's like, what now? And like his girlfriend, Anne Margaret, looks to the dummy, and she starts talking like the dummy, and it's like slow motion, and like the dummy's like laughing or something, and I'm like, that's so bad, that's just not good. The film is pretty subtle, so the movie I saw. The coming a mile away, kind of like, now she's got it too, and it's like, I don't know, it like, and he hits it hard, the ending, and it's the face of the brother, and I'm like, okay,
Let me just get back to the movie real quick, if we can. I feel like just to come back just to come back to the clip that we played about the movie, Rami, I want to tag you in here too, because obviously it's one of the first like holy shit, wrong, twisted ass moments of this movie where you realize that, oh my God, this is what this movie's gonna be about. Here you have Leon. It's a guy. His brain, splits in two here, and seeing this nurse have sex with Pin. It personifies Pin. It's his introduction to sexuality, and it's absolutely crazy. But I don't know. Should we open the door into what the source material is this now, or how do you want to play this?
Should I talk a little bit about that now?
Dude, we only got an hour.
Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, I think like the source, giving the source material a spotlight kind of gives you more of an understanding of where the director is coming from with like why he made this film. The director was a doctor. He was a physician, and he had a private
director.
The director. Just to start with, very, very strange. Okay. He was a physician, went through medical school. During medical school, he would like write scripts on the side. He had a private practice in Toronto, and while he was practicing as a doctor, he would send stuff to the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, and he would get stuff made, like little sketches here and there, and get them
little
made.
Lifetime kind of things. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, and then he ended up reading a book by Andrew Neiderman called Pin. And Andrew Neiderman, to like explain a little deeper into who this dude was, he was like one of those extremely prolific paperback horror writers, right? So like any of those amazing covers with the
thousands
at the drugstores with the shiny covers, like he is that guy. If you look,
like the covers with their die cut.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you
the best.
Paperbacks
I don't know,
from
like
hell.
when I was a kid in the 80s and early 90s, I would be at the drugstore with my mom, and that would be on that spinny thing, and I would always look inside the horror covers, and it's a little girl sitting on someone's lap, and then it's a skeleton she has blonde hair. It was just like I was obsessed with that shit. So Andrew Neiderman is the king of that, right? And so he wrote,
he's American. Is he or can
he's from New York. He's American.
Yep. Okay.
And so Pin was in the series of all of these books. He wrote like the book called Child's Play, a book called like Teacher's Pet. They're all that similar. Pin was very, very similar to Flowers in the Attic, right? The V.C. Andrews book. In 1986, when V.C. Andrews died, he took over, as we said before, as the ghostwriter for Flowers.
So cool.
And he wrote like 80 goddamn, like he wrote like an insane, he's written about like 130 books, but he wrote like an insane amount of these Flowers books, and no one knew it was him behind the scenes. But he got the job partially because Pin is so similar thematically to Flowers in the Attic. So it's like, it has like the scolding mother, it has like the blonde children, it has the incestual undertones. But what's also really weird about these books, which intrigued me, is like they're meant for teenage girls, kind of,
Yeah,
so
all exclusively, really.
they're for adolescent teenage girls. They're written from the perspective of teenage girls normally. And it honestly is like a very subversive, taboo, sexual awakening, like sort of thing.
Medium.
Like where girls would like go to the library and be like, oh my God, stuff it in your backpack. Like, I got Flowers in the Attic, I got Pin, and you're reading it at sleepover. You're like, oh,
It's crazy.
And it's crazy shit. But it's like, and there's a lot of that weird sibling incest stuff. And it's basically like when you read it, it's softcore porn. Like
for kids,
like porn for children. It's
Absolutely.
erotica for children. And I actually reread the book today. Like I sped read it today.
She read the entire book today. Just want to throw that out there.
Because I was like, I'd read bits and pieces, and I have a copy, but it's at my house. I had no access to it today. So I just read the whole thing. I got a PDF of it. Right. And I was like I was like blushing. Like I was like, this is insane. So in the book, the whole thing is so much more explicitly sexual. Like
so much more insane.
Everything about Pin is about the way that he's being awakened to sex, the shame he feels.
Do you have any questions before I continue?
Does every single person have a need?
If they're normal, they do. Any more questions? All right. Let's begin with the male sexual apparatus.
The nurse thing doesn't happen in the book. What actually is happening is that like the sister is basically having simulated sex with Pin when she's a child. And the
Right.
tone of the book is very like
We're gonna get.
sorry.
Okay.
We're gonna get banned.
Okay, but anyway, so
YouTube.
but that's
We're gonna get
and
pinned.
so like it right off the bat, like it's like you're like, okay, this is like the way they were introduced to sex. And like the scene where he's like looking in the doctor's office in the book is his father giving like a little girl a gynecological exam.
All right.
Okay. All right. Sorry. I'll stop.
We just ground this out.
Really, this never get
All right.
aired. You know.
Right,
Okay,
time
I'm
out.
sorry. So
On
anyway,
YouTube.
it goes on and on. And
Wow. Though. No, I'm kidding.
When you said VC Andrew, you're saying that Pin.
I gotta read that.
You said that Pin got him the job. That's what you're saying, right? To be VC Andrew's Ghost
I
Rider.
don't think so. It was just another book.
Well,
oh, sorry. What did you
was
say?
Pin a hit? I'm confused.
No,
wait.
I don't think.
My question first. Sorry. So,
Sorry, Marcus.
you said Pin.
Yes.
He wrote Pin, and that helped him get the job of writing for VC Andrews.
Yes.
Okay, because my mind was going to, when you brought that up, I didn't know that detail, and it was that he was the ghostwriter. But I did hear that interview recently on NPR, like when it was revealed that he was the ghostwriter. And it's weird. It's like VC Andrews was in a wheelchair. And my
Yes.
mind was going to like Pin's in a wheelchair. He's a
Oh.
dummy. She's like a puppet. He's the ghostwriter. Like Leon's doing Pin's voice.
The doctor is a truly scientific man. I don't think morality will affect his attitude. You made a mistake, and it must be rectified.
But she's the ghost. That's where my head was
wow.
going
Marcus.
with this stuff.
Oh my God! But interesting, you said that, Marcus,
Oh.
because I was just reading an interview with him, and he said this is very Stephen King too, like The Dark Half. But he said that he felt like he was possessed while he was writing the Flowers in the Attics books, because he had 2 desks that he'd set up. One was for Andrew Niderman's books. The other desk was for the VC Andrews books.
Wow.
And he would like
Wow.
turn and like face a different direction in the room, and he was like.
Take a step back, just for me, because I just do not have any navigation on any of this. I never read VC Andrews. I'm familiar with it. Let me say this to see if I'm getting any of this right.
Okay.
VC Andrews was a woman. She wrote books, and they were popular.
Yes.
And they were the gothic kind of like, adolescent sexuality. Okay.
Yes.
And then this guy was writing books too. And Pin was a book, but it didn't like make his career, did it?
No.
Was it big? Was it distinguished other than it wound up being a film?
No, it was just he was
You're
banging.
saying he's cranking them out. Okay.
Cranking.
So
he wrote The Devil's Advocate though, by the way. Sorry.
He did. That
Oh,
was a big
interesting.
hit. Yeah.
Yeah.
okay,
That was
so
a
I'm
big
almost
hit.
done. So just like
Yeah.
now VC Andrews does pass away.
In 1986.
And then this guy takes over as VC Andrews.
Yes.
And the Flowers in the Attic books by VC Andrews, quote unquote, were not written when VC Andrews was alive, so they weren't written by VC Andrews, but instead came out only after VC Andrews, the real writer, dies. And they're all done
So
by this guy.
they're not exclusively all written by him. There was
He
books-
continued
Okay.
the franchise. He continued the
Thank
franchise.
you. That
Yeah.
confused me. That's
Sorry,
okay.
he
I can log down. We only went out.
Okay.
He
But-
secretly
Yeah.
took over the franchise. So, but
franchise, got it.
he said, it's just interesting because I was very fixated with all these themes. He also dedicated Pin to his sister. The dedication says to my sister because we hear the same voices.
Oh, you stop it.
God.
These guys are all psychos.
Sickos and psychos and sickos.
That's what it says. So yeah, it's interesting as you go through the film.
Yeah.
Also like the
Amazing.
the movie is not as dark as the book.
Right, exactly.
It's
And
not
that's-
as sexually taboo. So
Right.
Can I
Wow.
please, if I can,
Yeah.
to get back to the film instead
Yes.
of 1 fucking hour in Flowers in the
Crazy.
Attic. Pin, the movie we chose for my birthday. Anyway, this is what's really interesting because I think this dovetails back into talking about the movie. Is the director Sandy Stern? That's what his friends call him. Sandy. He reads this galley of Pin, right? And he's like, it's a great story. It's a horror. I don't know what the fuck he read, okay? Because if you listen to the audio commentary track that was on the Anchor Bay DVD, this guy has no idea the themes, unless he's just disregarding those scenes of
Really?
heavy, insane, twisted incest and twisted.
What did he think the book was about then?
Well, he think it's
Mental
an
illness.
interesting study into mental illness. You know,
Where in the hell did these things come from? Mother? Father? From Pin! He's the best friend you've ever had! And for you to treat him the way you just did, the way you have since he came here is goddamn cruel!
which that's like a sub chapter. You know, that is a B
Yeah.
B or C story here into this incredibly really twisted story about this medical dummy, you know, that spawns, that's the center of this incestuous family here. So anyway, so it's interesting to hear him talk about that. And of course, you know, talking about movies from 1988, 1989, these sort of made-for-TV Lifetime movie, because this movie has that aesthetic. It has that kind of Lifetime
totally.
sort of made-for-TV movie thing. It's actually very Tubi. You know, if you're watching movies on Tubi, it kind of
Yeah.
looks like that.
Yeah.
It's also a little of like the Amityville, 90s Amityville movies.
Totally.
He wrote that screenplay.
He did.
He wrote
Of
that
what?
screenplay. Amityville.
Sandor
He,
did.
he was the screenwriter. Sandor.
Sandor.
The director.
Of the original first.
The original.
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
Isn't that
Jesus.
weird? So let's just get back into it just a little bit about this movie, because so Pin, fucked up medical dummy, the kid goes down, you know, completely, his brain cracks, and obviously for him, you know, Pin is a real life person.
Stan, I'd like you to meet Pin.
Hello, Stan.
It's nice to meet you, Pin.
And that's the way it's treated to him in the rest of the film, as we see him age through high school and different iterations of him growing up. And this movie, as demented, as crazy as it is, it does have these great little fun, you know, moments of just more lighthearted moments of what the fuck, you know, in this, that
It
are not
does?
hardcore punishing. It does. Like, and sort of my favorite is when
Tell.
the kid, when the same kid, the same age, we saw the previous scene, when Pin gets his sister a gift. It's my favorite Canadian line from the entire movie, and it's let's see what Pin got ya.
The one with the blue paper.
Let's see what Pin got you.
And so you see this nice little scene here where, you know, his sister gets a gift from Pin, further personifying this medical dummy in this family, and then she gets this nice music box from Pin, which has, you know, plays as a theme later on into the movie too.
You know what I wish? I wish Pin could come here and live with us.
Father wouldn't let him. He's an office dummy.
Don't you ever call him that!
So there's little moments like that that kind of creep into this movie, but then it starts to ramp
The
up.
music box is the woman on the pedestal, right? Which is like reflects his sort of like Madonna whore thing he's got going on, right? Putting his
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
She's
whatever. Okay, go on. I thought it was brilliant. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Was that in the book? That thing, the music box, was that in the book? I wonder if that was, or if that's a weird
It's
Sandy thing.
They talk about the Pinocchio thing in the beginning, actually,
Right.
during, I think, the birthday party scene. And then he doesn't like that the sister's calling him Pinocchio, so he changes it to Pin. That's during the birthday party. Yeah.
Oh, okay. If I can just talking about the film specifically, like scenes from the actual film, one tension I have with the film was I was always wondering, half expecting that a supernatural element would come in.
Yeah.
And especially that would be the twist where it's like, actually, she's now a mannequin, you know, something like that. But I like that. It was all pretty still grounded in
Yeah.
reality. But my point is the scene where the parents die because the dad's speeding along with the Pin in the back
Yeah.
seat.
Yeah.
And so I did start thinking, oh, like he's a sentient being, basically, in the back seat. But then I was like, oh, I guess, like the father's saying, like, don't worry, honey, he's just the mannequin just popped up from like a turn in the road or something.
Yeah.
And, like the sheet fell off him. So that was throwing me off a little bit because I was sort of hoping it wouldn't be getting supernatural and stay grounded in reality. And I was a little confused by that scene because the dad is saying like he's like stressed about time. Maybe you can help me.
They tease that a lot in the marketing, right? Like, is he real or is he not? Right.
I think that's interesting because I think that's part of like you're supposed to be kind of on that edge the whole time.
Okay.
Like, you know.
Yeah.
You don't know. Is it a supernatural thing? Is it like the kid controlling him? And like,
but it's really not.
You talked about magic, and I think that that's why I've always loved magic so much because you have the evil doll genre, like The Dead of Night and all those movies. But then what magic did was like you really see Anthony Hopkins' character descending into like debilitating psychosis.
It's just insanity.
And it's just the scene. It's so scary where like he.
Well, what's good about to speak to that it's, like pulling the rug from under the possibility of a supernatural element is, he's freaking out. I think God damn it, who is it? The woman in bed with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, sorry. No, the woman who lived there, the aunt or whatever.
I have that scene.
Yeah. Oh, play it. Because I'll just say, like, what I liked was it sets it up that, like, Pin's in bed and Pin's rising up to, like, maybe confront her. But then very quickly, you see who's behind Pin. And it's just the crazy asshole, and it's like that grounding was always kind of a nice thing that I wasn't sure where the film was going to go, and I liked that it stayed 2 feet on reality.
Yeah,
it made me like it more. So yeah, like this scene right here.
And it's actually one of the more actually effective scary scenes in the movie. Like if where a lot of it is, pretty Lifetime, but then you get this scene that because Pin's so creepy, and
that face
and
though,
that
face right there. Rising in the dark. It's so awesome.
Body worlds.
And obviously, I think the aunt has a heart condition of some kind, so then she has a cardiac episode.
Well, that speaks to the Marcus tropes we're talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
Marcus saying oh, I didn't grab my medication. Oh,
Yeah.
That's like in theater. It's like Shakespeare's stuff.
Totally. Well, it's also always challenging when you have a killer doll. Because like, how do you do the?
How do you
murder?
kill?
Like with magic, he beats people with the doll. And at first you don't really. So it's hard. It's how do you?
You have to kill people with heart conditions.
But see, look who's right. Look who's right behind him.
Leon.
Little
Leon. And Leon, obviously, we're sort of seeing, that's David Hewlett, who actually I think delivers a performance that's a little too good for this movie. And he's very, very, very believable, I think, in this movie. And we see him obviously through high school. He's the nerd, he's the total archetypal, just completely sheltered, rich kid who can't relate to anybody, and everyone makes fun of him. And his sister is sexually active in high school, and that upsets him.
No! Jesus Christ!
Very much so, and that's see, how could we have gone 40 minutes in this fucking show and not talked about the need?
Nature can't allow that. So she equips each of us with a biological need to join together and create new life. And that is why just as people get thirsty for water, they get thirsty for sex. Do you have any questions before I continue?
Do you ever have the need, Leon?
No, I'm not old enough.
Can't wait to be old enough. Think I'm really gonna like it.
So she has the need, the sister has the need, and that really pisses him off. And so he goes in, rips this guy, that is sleeping with his sister in the back of this car, out from the back seat, and then kicks him repeatedly in the nuts, which is also just another fun scene this movie delivers. But that sort of sets up their dynamic. And then what happens, she gets pregnant from that sexual encounter, and it's one of the most insane progressions of scenes in this movie when... The Leon, when she confronts Leon that she's pregnant, she's only 15, even though she's probably played by an actress who's like 23. But she's 15 in the story. She's pregnant. She doesn't know what to do.
Let's talk to Pin.
Leon, I'm coming to you with the biggest problem of my whole life, and you want me to get advice from it.
From what?
and we have to tell father, who's a doctor. And then one of the most grisly scenes in the movie, which I'm sure is in the book, is that the father performs the abortion.
After all the time you took explaining sex to them, giving them a better start than I had, where does it get me? A Sunday in the office.
Which is, again, wrong, twisted, and that's just another thing that just is like...
And he asks Leon if he wants to watch.
Yeah, I know, yeah. And
your father as a gynecologist, as your gynecologist. It doesn't get worse.
Right.
Going back to what I was saying earlier about good old Sandy Stern and listening to the audio commentary and how he's just completely disregarding these themes that are very present in the source material of incest and the family, the crazy family dynamics here, is that, he did see it as this sort of portrait of, like what Rami was saying, is like, mental health and schizophrenia, and those are the themes that interested him more so to tell this sort of horror film, because the book doesn't play like a horror film. Really, it's just like the genres we've been sort of talking about. So he sort of turned it into more of a horror film, especially with the marketing and everything. But we were talking about that time period of like 1988, 1989, and this sort of feeling like a made-for-TV kind of sort of movie, and how like at that time when people were making those types of movies about mental illness, there's a lot of misconceptions in that time period about mental illness, and you get these very paper-thin, two-dimensional depictions of them. And I want to use this opportunity to give a shout-out to a movie that's on Tubi that is also
Tubi.
another...
we should be sponsored by Tubi.
We
Tubi.
should be.
Yeah.
We're not, but we
Not even
should
kidding.
be. No. Not even kidding either.
No.
There's a deep cut on Tubi, which is called The Murder of Innocence, which stars Valerie Bertinelli, who is, I think, suffering from schizophrenia or something. But again, the scenes in which it depicts the filmmakers of this made-for-TV movie depict it as like her like spreading mustard on the walls and like putting peanut butter in their in like on a toilet seat.
I
and
love
stuff.
that.
So if you want to see that type of thing, that's what it is. But that's what we're getting, out
Only
of
on Tubi.
Yeah, exactly. Only on Tubi. But that's kind of what filmmakers at this time, or filmmakers like old Sandy Stern, are only trying to exploit here in this, right? But even though you have this kind of the tension in this source material that's so much more fucked up, there's something in that. So, but anyway, and I don't know, Rami, you got anything on that?
Well, I was going to say there's also just like a, subgenre of kind of like pseudo mental illness, like personality disorder, like Sybil, these movies
Sybil,
where
right.
it became like, this is what happens when people have a split personality and they're dangerous and they go, which is, that really doesn't happen. But yeah, so he was, I think, very playing on all those tropes. Yeah.
Right.
Even, what is it? Seth's, sorry, but I'm just remembering one other thing. This is also the Satanic Panic period. And that also includes like misdiagnosis in some ways.
Yeah, well, because
and like
True.
psychiatric shenanigans. Is it Seth Speaks? What is that book?
Jay's Journal. It was kind of this fake pseudo like memoir that was about a kid who was a Satanist who killed himself. Yeah.
Right.
And it's all bullshit. But yeah, this was definitely the era for that. And it was for young adults. So it was kind of like creating this young adult fiction.
Like there was this panic about like specifically mentally ill teenagers.
Completely.
Back then. And so there was a crass marketplace for it, but also I think parents like bought it hook, line, and sinker,
Yeah.
And I think, Sybil, boy, that was a very influential one right there. We went from like the bell jar to Sybil, as far as illness.
And it was like a panic. It's almost like mental illness exploitation movie,
Right.
Yeah.
Where it's like the
Illsploitation.
Exactly. Illsploitation. Yeah.
So one of the things we sort of brushed over and forgot to mention entirely is the idea that, halfway through the film, we sort of realized that, or less than half the way through the movie, we realized that Leon can actually do the ventriloquist gimmick that his dad can do. And so he can speak directly to Pin. And his sister realizes that, and it's...
You could put it that way, yes.
Yeah, or is like, well, how is he doing that, and what's going on? And
right.
That's a very complicated thing because, she then slowly understands that there's an issue with him and starts researching schizophrenia at the school library and everything.
He really believes that thing is a person. Doesn't he realize he's using ventriloquism?
He's not hurting anyone.
And it's what's really chilling is after the aunt passes away from in that crazy pseudo cardiac murder scene, we start to see Pin getting some sick upgrades. Okay, and so I just want to first shout out to my favorite shot in the movie, which is probably unintentional, but it's reminds me of Rosemary's Baby. This shot here where we see, just look at that. That is very scary.
I know what you mean by Rosemary's Baby.
You know, like bringing Pin home, you know, for the first time.
Yeah, that is a nice shot.
It's cool. It's very effective. And then of
he
course,
really relishes when Pin is in this mode. Like, I think the director's having a lot of fun when he's wearing suits and stuff. You know, like
And
it has
skin.
skin. It has really indelible imagery there. Yeah.
But then Pin gets some new skin, some new skins, new downloadable skins. So check it out.
Leatherface.
And Sister introduced to. Oh.
Yeah, that's
bring back the old Pin.
That does transcend
love
its
it.
time and
It's
place.
terrific.
Pin. Just those shots.
And then this cut here, like, okay, here's Pin with this new skin. What do you think? And then this just very cold Pin at the dinner table shot. You know, just like, this is going to be great. It's so
Holy
No, I noticed that too. That's like suitable for framing.
great.
Like you could
cut.
put that out of or you could base a Radiohead video on that still.
Oh my god, completely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
that's
like
a very hip. That's a hip image.
It's really
Totally. It's like in that director
or-
series DVDs of
Or
music videos.
by the way, I just found out what our moment is, which is the Rocket video from Herbie Hancock.
I don't know if I've seen that.
It up.
God, I
Okay,
just
okay.
Lars, that's
Okay,
an
okay.
amazing video. This just reminded me of Lars and the Real Girl for some reason.
Yeah. Oh, a lot of people
Whoa,
make
yeah.
connections to that.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
I also wanted to mention again the Terry O'Quinn thing because I feel like
Sure.
the stepfather, we talked about it a little bit, but that stepfather
Yeah.
parallel I think is really important because the stepfather, I love that movie, but
Right.
like I
Me too.
rewatched it recently and the opening is so brutal. There's like that same Laura Ashley pretty house
Yeah.
and the businessman husband walks out, blood everywhere, and it's that whole 1980s dark side of Reagan America, the pristine suburbs, the like control and like the perfect life, and just kind of like subverting that and doing this like what's underneath that and the
It's like where Blue Velvet went too, you know, like
very
Blue Velvet's the top shelf of that, but it's
Right.
all connected. It was a wave. For sure, in
and
culture.
just that kind of like we have a perfect family and a perfect home and a white picket fence and I think like these movies are kind of a cool like sort of slice of that time period. And the kind of
Donna Reed.
the Donna Reed of the 80s.
Well, the 80s was the second 50s. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because I think if you look at it in broad strokes, it's like the 40s, the 30s and the 40s were a depression and World War II that like knocked people in the fucking teeth, you know? And then they went like, can we actually try to figure out a way to be like sane and happy and safe?
Yeah.
And that's what the 50s is. And then everything went to hell in the 60s in all these different ways. And then they went, can we just have like not have 14-year-old pregnant girls on LSD? Like, can we actually just like have a nice time? I'm not defending the 50s or the 80s. I'm just
Right. Yeah.
like there's a back and forth. There's a pendulum swing. And so the 80s did its own kind of strange rotting 50s.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because then with that came the repression, it was like we're all perfect, we're all happy,
Just
and then
just under the rugs, everything.
under the rug. And so like this film, like talk about like Freud and bad timing, but it's like this movie
Right.
is like a Freudian nightmare. You know what I mean? It's like these kids who can't really talk about sex in a normal way are totally subverted. It's totally transgressive.
Yeah, it's
And so-
sublimated. Well, it's in a
Sublimated.
way, we're talking about like 1980 and bad timing, and that film is representing what all these people in the 80s wanted to sweep under the rug, like a bold, challenging, dark, like more honest kind of frank
Right.
film.
Right.
That, like that's of value and like really has high protein cinema, and it's rated X art house, and they're just like no. But bad timing kept knocking on the door in the middle of the night through the 80s, and so it's really interesting stuff, but I was confused. There's some big talking point that we hadn't gotten to yet. 'Cause we're
Well,
running out of-
Oh, the knee.
Sure. So obviously one of the other creepy aspects of Pin, is the voice
Right.
of Pin.
I told you to be careful. I warned you about this person. Now look what's happened. He's turning her against us. You must act, Leon, before we lose her.
And
Ooh, so true.
and
And
the
it's
voice
Howie
of,
Mandel, isn't it?
not far off. So the voice of
Ooh,
Pin
weirder.
is it is weirder, yeah. The voice of Pin definitely
idea.
something that rang in my head for many years seeing this movie. And I never bothered to look actually for about a decade, of who was the actual voice of Pin. I'm trying to build this up here. And I remember
Sure.
one
I'm
day
excited.
trying to just I remember one day the thought came into my head to try and figure out who this is. I went on IMDb, I looked it up, and I literally, my fucking head exploded at who the fucking voice of Pin is, because it's the last person on this earth that I ever would have expected. Now, here it is. The voice of Pin is Jonathan Banks. Mike from Breaking Bad is the voice of Pin. And I know you don't watch Breaking Bad, Tom, so the reveal
knew
is
Tom
not...
would have that reaction.
Yeah,
You're speaking Martian to me. I'm like, okay. like
This guy who plays like a hard-boiled cop, and everything he says
Yeah.
sounds exactly like this.
Hey,
And
that's
he's like, you're gonna
perfect.
go over there, you're gonna put the body in the trunk, and you're gonna drive home.
Wow, that's an
okay?
amazing impression.
That's
Wow.
that. That's how he talks all the time.
Holy shit, Marcus. That's way too good. Okay, so let's pull up a picture of Mike for Tom here. How about that? Should we do that?
it's all right. I'll Google it later.
Oh,
But the big thing is that the voice that people are used to from this actor is someone like
yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
it's like
It's very strange. It's just a weird
Gotcha.
connection. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
it's
never
a,
seen
it's,
1 second
it's
of
a
Breaking Bad.
it's a I know, and I realize that you've never seen it. But
whatever, it's all right.
yeah, but see, hold on. I just want to get this up here. But anyway, Raimi, is there anything else you wanted to get on this crazy ass fucked up movie that
Well, I think the thing about it is it's a lot of fun because it is, it's so far out, it's so crazy, and so I think that's why we love it so much.
Yes.
Oh, that guy.
totally.
I've seen that guy.
Sorry.
I've seen that face. I'm only seeing a portion. Yeah, totally.
That
He's
is
like-
the voice of Pin.
That's weird.
So
Your father only does that because he was worried about your future.
yeah, it's very hard to
Marcus.
picture. It's very
Is
you're
he
perfect.
always the?
Yeah.
Is he all the pins? Because there's 2 pins.
Oh, he's all the pins. He is every pin. Yeah, he's all the pins.
Sick.
It's all him.
He's the first person to hear my poetry, and he genuinely liked it.
Be careful. You have a tendency toward blind optimism.
I'd love to sit and argue, Pin, but I'd like to get downstairs if that's okay with you.
So that's
Now-
just
It is
a
a
piece of
weird.
pop culture
I was
fuckery.
Also, Evan, should we talk
There's more
a little
trivia.
about the? Oh yeah, Marcus, did you want to trivia?
Is no one else gonna mention the other piece of trivia?
No,
around
go
this
go
movie?
for it. I
Tell
don't
us.
know what it
Do
is.
I not know?
Maybe not, but maybe if you're an old punk like me,
Oh
you would
yeah,
get it.
Oh.
yeah.
That the dad has some problem children of his own, and that he is the father of. Anybody else want to take it? He's of 3 boys who went on to be in the youth brigade.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah, Terry
BYO
O'Connor.
Records. So like.
I know,
Right,
that's-
the dad, right? This is the director,
Yeah.
the
Saunders
director of the
Stern.
movie.
Oh, the
Stern.
director.
Yeah,
Not
is
the
the
dad.
dad. Sorry. Well, he is the dad.
Oh,
of
okay,
the youth
okay.
brigade. Anyway, sorry, but
I
the
understand.
director, is the youth brigade guy, boy's dad. So yeah, so that was pretty weird. So anyway, if you were an old, I had forgot about the youth brigade, but I listened to them a lot as a teenager.
Yeah,
So I went back and I was like, God, I forgot all these songs.
I was gonna
But,
ask you guys if you.
Yeah, they were big LA kind of band, but kind of I think they kind of like were the stepping stone between that LA LA punk and like what became like pop punk
Right.
and stuff.
I was also going to say, Evan, quickly about the distribution, because
Sure.
when he was making the movie, it was for Roger Corman's New World Pictures, and then
Right.
by the time the movie was done, that had dissolved. That production company had dissolved. And so instead of getting a theatrical production, they didn't want to put money into it. They just released it on video. And so like that's also, so it never got like a theatrical release.
It never played theaters.
But then weirdly, they had post-production in like San Francisco, straight to video, and then eventually it played at Film Forum for like a month. And like in New York, which is
in like 1988 or something, 99?
Yeah, I guess so, in 1989 maybe.
Maybe that's when people started taking it more seriously.
And
like
then it got good reviews, which is really funny. Like I was looking through some of the reviews, and it was like, oh, this is interesting because at this time it's all about slasher and extreme gore, and this is actually kind of subtle and interesting in a way, a throwback to movies like Magic from 1978, 10 years earlier, which people like my mom and dad love those movies. They raised me on those movies like Magic, you know? And so I think people liked seeing something that felt a little more subtle and psychological. So it ended up getting some interesting reviews. When it played at an art house theater in San Francisco also. So
I love that. I think that's where like what I was saying earlier about how it had some ripples, because I was fully cognizant of like cult movies is what I'm saying right then. So I mean I heard about it. So it was making waves that distinguished itself from just like, there's so much straight to video slop that we all know and love from back then.
Yes.
But this film did, I think, go a couple notches up as far as respect, you know?
And then we rediscovered it, like our generation rediscovered it, you know? So
yeah,
like,
I mean, there's
it has different lives.
Yeah, there's definitely like a vibrant cult film, you know, sort of like I've seen a lot of people in the cult film world on social media have been kind of demanding this get a release because it's not available anywhere. It's not on DVD. It's not on Blu-ray. It's never been re-released. And I even remember I actually wanted to show this movie for my birthday again one year at the Alamo. When I was here in Brooklyn, I wanted to get a print, and everybody wanted to show it at the Alamo. But the problem was that neither of the producers of the movie knew who owned it, and they didn't give a fuck of who owned it or not.
Wow.
So nobody, limbo. It just fell into limbo. So this movie's in total limbo land. And I know that like your Vinegar Syndromes or other people would jump at the chance to release to release this movie. So we should try to
start why don't we start a company on fucking our imprint. And that'll be our first release.
Because this is such a great midnight movie. I mean,
it does need to be seen by lots of folks on Blu-ray and all treat.
And in a movie theater, like imagine, like if you had done that screening, it's amazing. Like, because
it plays really well.
I'd love to see it in a theater, actually. Yeah.
Oh
it's
man,
a handsome
it rips.
film,
It rips.
And the acting is solid. I was like, because a lot of times these films, especially this period in time we're talking about, can have some pretty bad acting, but they were both doing a nice job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that helps is all I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Leon! You can't do this!
I think we should discuss this outside.
Father did not want him in the house!
Outside! I don't have to be reminded about Father's attitude, and I think it's rude of you to bring it up in front of Pin. Father's dead. What do you think would happen to Pin if I didn't bring him home? He'd probably be locked in some closet or killed.
With the little time we have left, I just want to quickly round up the movie because I think there's a lot we left off on, but with this movie, obviously, Leon's sister Ursula, she starts to date this guy named Stan, who's like a perfect, Canadian doofus, and she brings him into the house and obviously has to introduce him to Pin, which is one of the most awkward scenes in the movie.
Good. Pin likes chocolates.
Yes, exactly. It's the best.
I didn't know you liked chocolates until just now. Luckily, I brought some with me.
It's very nice to meet you, and thank you so much for the chocolates.
You're welcome.
Oh, that's cool.
Right. And then, of course, Leon reads one of his incest fantasy poems.
Great scene.
Unreal scene.
In these lines, he's contemplating rape for the first time. Closer she came to him, moving. It seemed in silent motion. His heart beat steadily within the caverns of his bosom, driving hot blood thick down into the depths of his loins.
One of the crazier scenes in the movie.
That's elevated shit.
Totally.
That's like that raises the film's bar a bit. Yeah.
Totally. And then following that, of course, Leon just, can't stand the fact that she's with Stan. And so he kills Stan, or tries to kill Stan. He's not successful. Tries to kill Stan, with Pin, the whole sort of gimmick there. But then, of course, his mind fractures again. And the movie is left with one of the all-time great ending shots.
So do I.
When you see the reveal of Leon, David Hewlett, the actor, in pin skin, is one of the...
It's actually very Twilight Zone.
Yes,
and I mean that with
EC,
respect.
or like EC comic ending.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, no, it's totally EC/Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
It's like a really classic, healthy, like mid-century ending. Mid-century horror. No, you're so right. It's both of those types. And that's kind of the film is a charm in that way. It's kind of old school.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like it doesn't have like post-60s cynicism. It's actually very pure. I'm glad you mentioned that. EC Comics.
In a weird way, it's a happy ending of sorts, which is very strange to say. I'm only saying that because the ending of the book is very unhappy.
Lay it on us.
Lay it on us.
What's the ending? Spoil a book.
Please.
Okay.
Everybody's doing
it's
that.
rough.
Go ahead, get us banned.
It's big on
from
TikTok
YouTube.
to spoil book.
Can I tell you?
Yeah.
It's rough. Go.
Yeah, go. Yeah, please.
Ursula is forced to have sex with Pin as an adult. Then she hacks up his body with an axe.
Hacks up whose body?
Pin's. And then she dresses her brother Leon in a suit and says, "Now you are Pin." And then she puts him in a wheelchair and she becomes his like Victorian nanny mistress. And then reads him Pinocchio. And the ending is her reading him Pinocchio and be like, "Yes, Pin." Then the little boy becomes a blah blah blah. It's
Man, that's better. That is better than the ending. I gotta say, somebody needs to remake the book.
Let's do it.
It's reverse Pinocchio.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
The
It's
real
reverse-
boy
let's-
becomes the puppet.
The real
right?
boy becomes the
It's
puppet.
reverse.
It's reverse
Right.
Pinocchio.
Jesus.
That's
Yeah.
so fucked.
I know.
Well, the title makes more sense. The whole Pinocchio, theme.
Yeah.
It seems like it's more fleshed out in the book.
It's like a fucked up. That's what Pin is. The fucked up Pinocchio movie.
Yes, it is. It is. Oh
It
my
is.
god.
Well, the book is very much so.
The book
It
is
sounds like the book is
insane.
Hitting harder than the film.
Oh,
It's hitting her.
20-fold.
Let's remake it.
Remake
Yeah,
Pin.
let's do
Okay,
it.
let's get a petition going
Well,
to remake Pin.
I heard that the director had signed on
Kickstarter.
for a remake, but it was like
Yes.
2011. That's what all the
Yeah.
wikis were saying.
There was
Yeah, I saw-
there was a
remake.
remake
but-
that was in development, but it never.
Sounds
Never
like
seen
it might have
it.
gone into
Director?
turnaround though.
No,
By the same director?
I don't know.
Well,
Was
then
it
he
the
would
same?
probably.
Yes.
Yeah, same director.
Oh god.
Well, then he wouldn't maybe
Boo.
adapt it closer
No.
to the book then.
No. It needs to be like the Dogtooth guy. It needs to do.
need the
No,
Pin
Rob
remake.
Zombie.
Yeah.
Rob Zombie did
Oh, shut
Don't ever
up.
don't put that in the
Happy
universe.
birthday.
Yeah, no R words here.
All right.
Edward Nimoy promoting.
All
That's
right.
it. Let's end on Rob Zombie. The
That
end.
was one fucking hour on Pin. To be determined if this episode will ever be released. But thank you everybody for tuning in for my birthday spectacular and this really fucked up movie. Again, if you haven't seen it, you can't find it, give us a shout out on social media, but you got to follow us at least first. And subscribe to the YouTube channel. And drop us a comment as well. Thanks so much, guys, for indulging me on this on my birthday show.
I found it really informative. I'm glad I didn't research any of this. It was very. It was just the revelations were wild. I appreciate that. The book. I had no idea.
It's crazy, and it's
The
a
book
fun
is
movie,
really-
like you said, Evan. It's a fun movie night movie with friends. Like if you want to get
It is.
together and freak your friends out and just laugh and have a, it's awesome.
It's not slow.
No cheating. No
It's-
cheating.
I'm telling you, just as a sell point, if you were turned off by some of the insanity we talked about earlier, it's just literally you get 5 people in a room, watch this movie, it rips your face off. It's really, really a good time, even though your jaws are going to be on the floor and, you might not be able to, put them back in their original position afterwards. So it's definitely a wild time. So can't recommend it enough. All right. Well, should we talk about next week? I mean, we didn't really talk about next week, but I think I know where we're going, right? I think we know where we're going.
I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to wing it. I'm going to wing it because I know what you want to do. Marcus, you love this movie. Tom, you love this movie. And we've talked about it so many times. I know, Raimi, you love this movie too. It's one of my favorite movies. It's probably in my top 5 favorite movies of all time. This actually could be a sort of double bill birthday spectacular. But we're going to look at I got to remember what the year of this film is. But this is going back...
79.
Is it 79?
No,
76.
I'm just taking a guess.
70. Right, because of what we do. 1976. We're going to talk about the film from Jama Fanaka, Emma May. Okay.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yep.
You know what? There's only a little psychotic man elements in this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's just like granular level, psychotic males.
Right.
So, we're taking a little breather from that.
Yes.
But this movie is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, it's great.
It is actually a student film, which is insane. It's a bizarre fact about the movie.
Jama, he did the penitentiary films.
Right.
A Los Angeles black filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
Also did Welcome Home, Brother Charles, which is another kind of student project earlier in the mid-70s. And yeah, he's great. Really wild, really inventive. And that'd be great. I'm excited. Cool.
Yeah.
So we're doing MMA.
And so beautifully shot. Like it's
unbelievably so beautiful.
Really cool.
Yeah, really ahead of its time in a lot of ways. It's just incredible. Obviously, some genre tones to it that it has in sort of a bank heist scenario, but it's about so much more than that. It's so.
Do we know if it's on any streaming or anything? Is it more available than say?
I hope it's more available. Yeah, it is on Blu-ray, and I can't recommend the Vinegar Syndrome.
Okay, at least there's a Blu-ray because Pan again is.
Oh, you know what? It's on the Alamo On Demand. That's where it's on, but.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
I didn't even know that was either. That's what the internet's telling me. It's on Alamo On Demand, but it's also on Blu-ray. The Blu-ray is fantastic. But yeah, MMA, Jama Fanaka, 1976. Check it out. One of my top 10, I think, of all time. So we'll definitely get into that next week. So all right, everybody. Well, we can't leave you without your moment of Zen. All right, everybody. That's coming up right after this, but we got to replace that at some point. All right, and all right. Have a good rest of your week, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
And tomorrow we can have chicken, and then there's ribs and burgers. We'll never have to cook again.
Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
That was wicked, man.